Lululemon's performance-driven fabrics and designs are made to help you feel great, so you achieve more on the mat, in the gym, or on the trail. So it only makes sense to bring that innovation to your everyday life, too. Introducing Easy 5 pants. Dynamic, structured, unrestricted. Easy 5 is the brand new 5-pocket pant, raising the bar on everyday performance. Lululemon, athletic innovation for everyday life. Shop now in store or online.
Picture this: a curve in the road, a change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer's always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to performance. Yes to comfort. Yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that's real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey. And how are you today, Lauren, in the waning days of the month of March?
Yeah, doing good. Getting all hyped up for WWE tonight for Miles and his birthday in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So how long a drive is that from your place?
Just over an hour, I think.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Can't wait to hear. I mean, especially, again, when you think about when you enter a WWE event, that gauntlet of merch before you even get into the venue.
Yeah. We were just talking this morning with Miles, and, he's our son that's 9, and he was telling me all the things that he was planning to purchase as soon as we walk in. He's got a list.
Well, there you go. And hopefully, there'll be room for you guys to sit down with all of the bags.
Yeah. But you were talking about some merch before we hopped on, right? You have an update?
Oh, I am so weak. On last week's show, I mentioned how I was at Target and I discovered that there was an Easter-themed series of the Pixar cars. And, I think I sprang for the Ramon. And earlier this week, finally caved and went back and bought the other 5 in the series, which include the Easter Buggy and Lightning McQueen as the Easter Buggy. And, they're now sitting in the Tupperware alongside the Christmas-themed Pixar character, which, again, I think I recall moaning on an earlier show, Lauren, that I still had like 10 of those to chase down, and, that it was going to involve spending time on eBay and spending entirely too much money. But hey, what are you going to do?
You need to send us a picture. Send me a picture and I'll post it on social media so people can see what you're talking about.
All right, I will take that as soon as we finish wrap-up recording here today. But speaking of today, we have quite a bit of news, don't we?
Yes, we do. So we just got details about D23. So when this podcast goes live, the tickets will be open that day. And the internet is really talking about the RSP pin. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at Disney's big spring merch push, some Easter merch. And then there's a new Scentsy collectible that you may just want to pre-order now. And we're going to take a quick look at why Disney's billion-dollar bet on the future of fandom just may have hit an unexpected snag. But before we get to all of that, why don't we thank our sponsor?
Absolutely. And this episode of I Want That Too is brought to you by our friends at unlockmagic.com, the go-to place for some of the best deals on theme park tickets. If a Disney or a Universal trip is anywhere on your radar in 2026, Unlock Magic helps you, lock in great ticket prices without the stress. All handled by people who really know the parks and know how to save you money. And speaking of D23, if you're headed to California this year for the ultimate fan event, be sure and check unlockmagic.com before you buy your theme park tickets. And again, so if you're thinking this is finally the year that we go, Head on over to Unlock Magic to grab the very best ticket deals and make that future trip just a little bit more magical. So, all right, again, to pivot to the D23 Expo, and all of this info came in yesterday, right?
Yes. So the info came down last night is when I saw it. And, I've been keeping my eyes peeled because we talked about, going out for the Ultimate Fan Event, which is taking place August 14th to the 16th at the Anaheim Convention Center. And then they're going to do the big panels and everything again at the Honda Center. So, like I said, the tickets are going to go on sale the day this podcast is dropping, April 2nd. Did you see any of the news about D23?
I did. I have to admit, I'm a little concerned about, correct me if I'm wrong here, if you have been a D23 Gold member from the beginning, you can get in there a day ahead of the rest of the world and buy your tickets.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 days. It's March 31st. And then any of the other Gold members, so Gold Essential, Choice, and Gold Complete are on April 2nd. And then if you have the complimentary D23 Gold membership that comes with your Disney Plus subscription that we've talked about, those folks can't get their tickets till 2 hours after the paid Gold members. So it's a little concerning, yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. The last time around, in years previous, I've attended the D23 Expo as a member of the press. Got a little nervous last year and thought maybe a belts and suspenders approach. So I bought admission to the event in addition to filling out the press request. And again, good decision, because last year was when they decided to go the influencer route rather than the traditional press. And what was frustrating was that by the time we were able to purchase tickets to the event, and when I say we, it was myself and Eric and Lauren and Angela and Brian, they couldn't get us into the Honda Center, right?
Right. Yeah. We were lucky to get tickets. And even when we got there, remember, we couldn't get the virtual queues for the merch even.
Yeah.
So, it does certainly make me a little bit nervous.
It does. But we'll keep you folks posted. We'll make the good effort. But do you want to walk the folks through how it's kind of laid out as of right now?
Yeah. So there were some changes as to how this, the ticketing was going to work. But I do want to call out real quick the Disney Plus subscriber deal that we've talked about, the complimentary plan. So starting now through when you can purchase the tickets for this, if you go to the disneyplus.com/perks or whatever, you can get 20% off of one of the paid Gold memberships, and there's 3 of them. And so, if you're nervous that you're not going to get your tickets with your complimentary membership, so I got the Essential plan, which is the $50 plan, and I didn't get a discount or anything off of it at the time, but I'm looking at it, it's in front of me. So you get the Gold membership that's going to get you in. You get a D23 member pin and a magnet, a certificate, and a Lorcana card, and then $25 off any D23 event. And then you could go up to the next level, which is the Choice plan. It's $119, and you get to pick one of the gift items, which is a Sorcerer Mickey figure, a backpack, Oswald ears, a button down, or a set of D23 pins. And then if you go for the Big Mac Daddy, it's $329. This is the complete plan. You get one of each one of those items plus everything that I mentioned in the essential plan. So those are options if you want to try to get, a plan before, the tickets go on sale. But by the time you're hearing this, that probably has already happened. But what everybody's talking about right now online, Jim, did you see the D23 RSP pins that are going on sale as a part of one of the ticket tiers and the chatter around that?
Okay, so this is the random selection process pins. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
And I again, this is one of the reasons I don't collect pins. It sounds like, excuse me, let us set up an elaborate series of hoops that will ultimately really aggravate you. But Lauren, why don't you explain why people are kind of frustrated even before any of this begins?
Well, one, because it's super confusing. That's why people are frustrated.
There we go.
But so if you're not familiar, there are 16 D23 Ultimate Fan Event pins. And like Jim said with the RSP, it's a random selection process. But this is how I understand it of the research that I've done, is that this is for individual pins, not for the full set of 16. And to be a part of that kind of lottery, you have to buy the premier ticket, which is that ranges from $12.99 per person to $25.99 per person. And the way that this year's ticket plans range is like you can get an afternoon, you could get 1 day, you could get up to 3 days, and then you could get 3 days with the the Honda Center add-on, and then the tickets get more expensive based on where you want to sit at the Honda Center. So, and the thing that I don't understand is that it does say that these pins are $39.95, and that they will not be for sale at any of the merch locations at D23. And they've not told us how many of these fan passes that they're even going to be sold. They don't tell us how many pins that they're going to be making. So I saw that the initial number was 1,000, but that is what everybody's big question is about right now. But if you're not a pin trader and you're more interested in Lorcana, one of the new things that they're doing this year is they are going to be hosting this Ravensburger Disney Lorcana Championship Qualifier at the fan event, where the winner is going to earn a guaranteed seat in the 2027 Disney Lorcana North American Championship. So that's something new. You think there's going to be a lot of interest in that, Jim?
To be honest, I don't know. I mean, it's just, and in fact, I guess that's what's ultimately a little frustrating right now for me in regard to the D23 Expo. It just sort of feels like, every year it becomes another set of stereo instructions. It's just sort of like, let's make this more complicated, just what you were describing makes me sad for my friends who do collect pens, who might legitimately be interested in these. And, I am hoping, at least on the Lorcana side of things, that sounds a little easier. Though, this being Disney, I would imagine between now and August, they'll set up a bunch of hoops that those folks need to jump through.
Oh, I'm sure. More to come. We will keep you posted on what's to come with the D23 fan event.
There we go. Okay, now, between, of course, August and now, we have Easter coming up, and the Disney parks are pushing out a selection of merch to help you make your Easter basket a little better this year, right?
Yes. So Disney Parks blog released the guide featuring the spring-themed merch. And so they have a lot of really great plushies. You got Mickey, Minnie, Stitch. You got some Zootopia, Hopper. So they have a lot of cute items. So this little guy from Hoppers that is working out King George. What is this guy all about?
Oh, come on. I keep telling you got to watch Hoppers. This is the character that Bobby Monahan voices in Pixar's most recent film. King George is the king of the mammals, and very funny, very sweet part of the latest Pixar film. So I'm actually excited to see a King George plush out there.
Well, that's why I included him for you.
Okay.
And then I thought this angel plush was really funny looking. So I thought I would include it. So it's Angel from Lilo and Stitch, and she is dressed up like a yellow bunny with a green tutu. Pretty cute there. And an odd one that I was kind of questioning. What do you think about the Aristocats, Marie and Toulouse? Okay, what do you think of those plushies being included for Easter?
Well, all right. First of all, again, you have to understand, we do a cat mystery here at the Statler Hill House, and I was immediately looking at those thinking, new cats to add to the cat mystery. On the other hand, these are coming from Scentsy. In fact, they are Scentsy Buddies. And I mean this in the kindest possible way, given that Nancy and I just recently added 2 rescue cats to the house. And I don't necessarily think of, cat-related scents, as a good thing.
That was my initial thought. I'm like, what a weird thing to make scented.
Yeah, but on the other hand, they are the Aristocats, so they're moneyed cats from France. Maybe they smell better than, like, for example, Moose, the giant cat that's resting at my feet right now, and it's always a little ripe. But yeah, now speaking of Scentsy. We also have they're also offering something kind of intriguing now related to what, Cinderella Castle?
Yeah, this is so odd. So our producer Dave actually texted me yesterday with this because he's on the Scentsy newsletter, and there is a new warmer, like a wax melt warmer modeled after Cinderella's castle, the new version, which is white. Looks white, and I'm really anxious to get your thoughts, Jim, on this. So there's a pre-order system going on right now. It's not coming out until October of 2026. And in order to pre-order this, it is a $30 non-refundable deposit, which then will be applied to the full retail price of $125 for a wax melt warmer.
$125 wax melt warmer. How big is this thing?
I mean, it looks like an average size wax warmer. Like, it's for tabletop, and like what I was telling Dave is it is beautiful. It's quite lovely. But my son's girlfriend got me like one of those wax warmers for like a candle for Christmas, and I'm sure it was like $20. It doesn't look like Cinderella's castle, but you could get any of the Bath and Body Works princess scents, and they had $6 candles the other day at Bath and Body, and save yourself a lot of money. But it is not Cinderella castle. So,
but a $30 non-refundable deposit, which then I have to pay an additional $95 to get my Cinderella castle. Again, this is Wow. What does it say about you and I as the hosts of a Disney merch show that we're both looking at this going, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think it's really odd. But okay, to give kind of get back to Scentsy as a whole, because when Dave sent me this, I did pop over to their website, and they do have a lot more Disney scents than what Bath and Body Works offered as a part of their princess line. And I mean, it makes sense because Scentsy is the official, I guess, fragrance partner of Disney. So if you wanted, other Disney scents that are not at Bath and Body, and, maybe you're not interested in the Magic Candle Company, because there's lots of companies that if you want to, bring the scents of the resorts home or whatever. So it is worth checking out. I will not be spending $125 on this candle warmer this time around, but good luck. And tell us, are you interested in buying this? It does light up.
Well, there we go.
And if you are, is there a reason that you're excited about this particular?
Okay, cool. There we go. We'll throw it out to the fans that maybe they can sell us on the idea of why we need this on the kitchen counter, because right now, my sales resistance has really kicked in. And speaking of sales resistance, it wasn't all that long ago we heard that the Walt Disney Company was going to spend $1 billion to step boldly into the world of AI, and suddenly that's not happening. Care to explain?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm feeling a little, just a wee little bit bad for Josh tomorrow. Because this was his first earnings call, and he just stepped into the new CEO gig, and we've had some things kind of blowing up in he and Dana's face. So you alluded to the AI piece of it. We'll talk about that first, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with the Fortnite $1.5 billion investment. But so we talked about on the show several times that Disney was planning to partner with OpenAI on a platform called Sora, which is a social media platform that was 100% AI, and you would be able to create videos using the Disney characters that were not face characters. So that was a piece of this partnership, but they were going to integrate some of the Disney characters' likeness into, ChatGPT image generation, and, being able to apply some of their technology into Disney's business. So before that deal even got fully executed, I don't think that the money even changed hands. OpenAI came out and said that they are discontinuing the Sora platform in general. And so from what I read, Disney was kind of blindsided by that. And so they've come out and said that they're going to continue to explore, alternate ways to use AI. And it sounded like OpenAI was going to take some of the bandwidth that they were spending developing Sora and the short form videos and put that technology right into ChatGPT because I think platforms like Claude and the other AI platforms are giving them a run for their money. People are leaving ChatGPT. So anyway, so that was kind of blow number one, and then blow number two came at the same time with Epic Games, the company that owns Fortnite. And back in 2024, if you weren't familiar, Disney came out, they made this $1.5 billion investment in Epic Games to, one, have, part ownership stake in that company because they really can see the potential of, where gaming is going. And they also had a vision to create this like persistent digital worlds where fans, they can play the games, watch content, shop for merch, and interact with characters from all across the Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar universe in one connected ecosystem, and take those in-game experiences, kind of in the metaverse, and then have real life experiences in the theme parks, because experiences is really what, Disney is leaning into. But it came out, and Epic is facing like a ton of internal challenges, and they just had a massive round of layoffs. And I mean, like, using their words, they basically said that they were spending way more money than what they were making, which is, not a great business decision. You got to right size that ship,
Well, I mean, I guess what intrigues me about this whole situation is this seems to be very consistent in regard to Disney and tech. I mean, everybody knows the story about what happened back in the 90s about Go.com, about, how Disney, went rushing in there without really having a plan, and that kind of blew up in its face. And I think this is the thing. Disney recognizes that they should be part of this. And but the problem is, again, Disney is a company of storytellers, and AI is, for lack of a better explanation, AI takes the ability to tell stories away from the storytellers, and this is, this is the thing. I see a Disney laying down its money, but it's kind of. Are you aware of the South Park underwear gnomes?
No.
Okay, all right. There's very, very early on in the history of South Park, there was this episode about the underwear gnomes, and how they would sneak into your house at night and steal your underwear, and then eventually, the characters meet up with the underwear gnomes in their cave, and the underwear gnomes explain that, this is all part of their master plan. And they take the characters to a whiteboard that says, and what they've laid out is the equation for their business. And, it has underwear gnomes steal underwear plus ? Equals profit. And again, this is the thing with Disney. I think Disney is, Disney plus AI equals profit. But there's a question as to, well, how does that work? How do we as storytellers, and again, we have a lot of very talented storytellers here, but how do we then surrender the ability through AI to then tell those stories and still keep same levels of staff, same levels of control? It's just an interesting time. And again, look at, a Josh D'Amaro, as Len often points out, us on the outside here, wow, $1 billion, that's a lot of money. Whereas Disney in-house is like, well, we spent $1 billion. It's just, that's kind of a rounding error in the world of Disney. And so in a weird sort of way, especially given, I mean, face it, Lauren, you and I paying attention to what goes on in the entertainment news sphere, it's been a tough couple of weeks for those who are working in the AI space. So the fact that this is, this deal isn't going to happen now, and, you see the company tapping its brakes in other initiatives, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, and I'll be anxious to see how this affects the timeline of the Fortnite and Disney integration, because, I mean, if you just laid off a ton of staff, I would assume that, that would maybe slow that train down a bit, but it'll definitely definitely be something that we'll be keeping an eye on here on I Want That Too. But speaking of money, I mean, we're not talking about $1 billion. We're actually talking about 1 cent, right, in today's feature.
What a lovely transition. Yes, so when we get back, folks, this week's feature, again, another suggestion by Lauren, about the pressed pennies you can get at the Disney parks and their unique history. And yeah, it's not quite $1 billion, but it's an interesting story, which we'll get to in a sec. But first, this.
Good things come in fours, like ukulele strings, boy band members, and PayPal Pay in 4. No fees, no interest, no impact on your credit score. Just the flexibility to pay the way that works for you. Strum it, hum it, pay it in 4. Tap the banner to learn more. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payin4. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
And we're back. Okay, so on last week's show, I was mentioning that again, Lauren, she handles the news and then she suggests topics for the feature section of I Want That Too. And this time around, she mentioned pressed pennies, which I'm not going to lie, I literally sent her a note back to the effect of that seems a pretty thin topic to build a feature around. But again, as always, I bow to Ms. Hersey's ideas, and it turns out this was actually a much better topic for a feature than I thought it was going to be, Lauren. But to start here, I mean, again, some stories just are start in interesting ways. And for example, this story really, I want to talk about churros.
Okay.
All right. Well, do the Hersey family do churros when you go to the Disney parks?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And yeah, they've always been there, right? Every time you've gone to the park, there've been churros, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you would assume churros have been at Disneyland forever, right?
Yes, I would say that was a staple.
Well, but here's the thing. They didn't actually make their debut at a Disney park till 1985. I mean, the park had been open for 30 years. And they were just building Videopolis, the teen dance club, opened in June of 1985. And the notion was that, they were going to be all these, and it's a teen dance club. And so all these teenagers were going to be dancing on the floor and, but they'd want food. But they weren't going to be able to eat anything with two hands. So they were looking for, what can people eat with one hand? And, somebody at Disney said, well, there's these things called churros. Have you ever seen them? They sell them from carts in the city. Maybe we could do those. So, yeah, I mean, churros have only been in the Disney parks for the past 40 years. And again, they were only introduced because, they figured, teenagers need something they can hold with one hand and eat while they're dancing. All right. And I bring that up, the notion of something that you think would have been there forever. And same thing, pressed penny machines. I mean, you assume Disneyland had a penny arcade, Lauren, from opening day, July 1955. So they got to have had pressed pennies from the beginning, right?
You would think. Like they've been around as long as I can remember.
Well, that's where you're wrong. I mean, mind you, what's interesting, we as a people have been pressing pennies since actually 1802. That was when the first steam locomotive, in fact, a gentleman called Richard Tevidick built the first steam locomotive in the UK back in 1802, and he used it to haul heavy cargo along a rail line for a short distance. And by the way, the first steam train to carry passengers wouldn't come along till almost a quarter of a century later, 1825. But anyway, almost from the moment that an iron horse rolled along a rail, there were people who were like, hey, hang on, let me get some coins out of my pocket. Let me put them on the rail. Let me see what happens when the train rolls over them. So press pennies go all the way back to 1802.
Oh, wow.
But as for press pennies in the Disney parks, and also I'm going to assume the other thing that's kind of driving the bus on this story is the news back from November of last year where the U.S. Mint stopped printing pennies. You heard that story, right?
Oh, yes, 100%.
Okay, all right. And largely this was a budgetary decision, folks. Evidently, it cost 3.6 cents to make a penny. So we've been losing money on pennies for years now. Evidently, $56 million a year. So that's why we're no longer making pennies. So I look at Lauren suggesting the story idea. Okay, that's my news hook. So I do some research. But again, it's just I'm always constantly surprised that it's like, well, they must have been there from the beginning. It's like, well, no. The very first time that Disney has a pressed penny machine was 1987. Again, we'll be coming up on the 40th anniversary of these things next year. And it all dates back to September of 1984, Lauren, which is when Michael Eisner shows up as the new CEO of the Walt Disney Company. And as he comes in the door, the folks who have put him in charge of the Disney Company, the Bass Brothers majority shareholders, they flat out say, Michael, the parks have to make more money. And the easiest way to do that, Lauren, is by raising ticket prices. And by the way, back then, in when Michael came through the door in 1984, it cost an adult $18 for a one-day ticket into Disneyland Park. You just took the family to Disneyland. That even close to what you paid?
No. I think that we paid $18 for a round of Cokes.
There we go. But the question is, well, how undervalued is an admission price to Disneyland at this time? So here's the interesting thing. Disney pulls together a focus group. They deliberately go to the Midwest. They find a bunch of people who have never been to Disneyland or Walt Disney World, and they pull them into a conference room, and this is their pitch, Lauren. So it's like a Broadway musical, if you factor in intermission, is a 2.5-hour-long entertainment experience. It features live action, multiple performers up on stage, elaborate sets and lighting, and a Broadway musical almost always ends with a grand finale where they pull out the stops. Whereas a day at a Disney theme park, well, that's typically a 10-hour-long experience. And at your leisure, you can explore a highly themed environment filled with elaborate ride shows and attractions. There are hundreds of cast members working inside of this place, each of them determined to make your visit to the Disney theme park as enjoyable as possible. There are live shows, there's music, there's a full-scale parade that rolls through the park every day, and each night, as a grand finale, fireworks explode high in the sky over this theme park. So, taking that into account, and given that a seat for a Broadway musical, and by the way, Lauren, keep in mind that, we're talking 1984 prices here, a seat to a Broadway musical at that point cost $31. Hearing that, how much would you pay to get into a Disney theme park?
I mean, if you're asking me, more than $31.
Well, there we go. And this was the thing. That was the response that Disney officials got from members of this focus group, who, again, had never been to a Disney park. They said, well, I would at least pay as much to get into the Disney park as I would to see a Broadway musical. And this is exactly what Michael Eisner wanted to hear, which he felt like, okay, now I officially have permission to aggressively raise ticket prices at Disney parks. And with the notion of we can now chase the price of a Broadway theater ticket. And by the way, Lauren, it would take 10 years, but by 1995, the cost of a one-day ticket into Disneyland would now be $31. Irony here is by then, cost of a Broadway ticket had risen to $46. But from this point forward, that's the number that Disney is chasing. In fact, what's interesting today, Lauren, 2026, the company has finally actually achieved Michael Eisner's goal. And if you, for example, in fact, you took Lainey to go see Wicked on Broadway. Right now, a ticket to get into the Gershwin Theater at, I want to say back of the balcony or thereabouts, is $109. On the other hand, if you buy the lowest possible price one-day ticket to Disneyland, and just caution you folks, you got to reserve this and you got to buy it weeks in advance, but it's $104. So there's actually parity between those two prices. It took them 40 years, but they got there. And by the way, the other thing that Disney keeps very, very close tabs on, because they see this as an equivalent entertainment purchase, but it's a one-day lift ticket for a major ski area in the United States. And again, that's just around $100 as well. So got to take that into account as to why Disney, the pricing of the parks is where it is at. And it's these factors you'd never honestly think of: the price of a Broadway theater ticket and the price of a lift ticket. So what does this have to do with Press Pennies? We will explain in a moment. But first, this.
This episode is brought to you by Fandango. People say fans are too distracted these days, but the truth is, when a great movie hits the screen, you show up, you stay glued, invested, part of the story. And without fans like you, there'd be no cinema magic, no shared moments. So head to Fandango.com to get tickets, stream, or rent or buy top movies and series. Fandango loves fans.
Protein is now at Starbucks, and it's never tasted so good. You can add protein cold foam to your favorite drink or try one of our new protein lattes or matcha. Try it today at Starbucks.
And we're back. All right, Lauren. So you know the old financial cliche that if you watch your pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. You've heard that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's now the summer of 1986. And remember how earlier on in today's show I mentioned how in 1984 it cost $18 to get into Disneyland. Well, by June of 1986, an adult was going to have to pay $24.50 for a one-day admission into Disneyland. So inside of 2 years, they have jumped the price of the tickets by more than a third. And by the way, in 1986, by the summer of 86, they already jumped the ticket price twice. They had, what was it? In March, it was $23. By June, they jumped it to $24.50. And by the way, if you held off your trip to Disneyland that year till Christmas, you were then paying $26 to get into the park. So they were aggressive. But Michael Eisner felt like, well, look, we're justified in these price increases because Videopolis had opened in June of 85. Captain EO, which had cost the company $40 million to make, would be opening in that same theme park, September of 86. And just 4 months after that, that was when Disneyland's version of Star Tours opened. All good additions to the park. And then, again, January of 87, exact same month that Star Tours opened, that's when they break ground on Splash Mountain. So, again, you take the 30,000-foot view. Yes, Disney is being very aggressive when it comes to raising the cost of admission at the park. But at the same time, if you talk with Michael Eisner, all of the money he's making off of these ticket price, the raising ticket prices, he's pouring it right back into the park, funding its future. Yeah. So, but here's the thing. Given the amount of money that's coming in and going out, again, this is so weird to say this, they still need additional revenue streams. They need more money coming in. And so, but more to the point, they need low-cost, low-maintenance ways to make money. Like, say, a pressed penny machine, which, by the way, originally introduced at the Columbian Exposition, the Chicago World's Fair of 1892, 1893, which, again, genuinely weird bend on this story, Lauren. That's the fair that Elias Disney helped build in Chicago. And in fact, this is the thing that Walt's dad told him about. This amazing White City thing that he helped build in Chicago that a lot of folks believe fueled Walt's desire to build the original Disneyland in 1955. But anyway, okay, it's now June of 1987, and the company agrees as a test to put 2 press penny machines in the park. And they make the obvious choice. They put them in the Penny Arcade on Main Street, USA, where you put 51 cents into the machine. And you'd get in one of the machines, you'd get a flattened penny back that had that Mickey Starburst thing that you saw at the front of Mickey Mouse cartoons from the 1930s, or actually, again, Lauren, you were just in D.C.A. How the Mickey face on the fun wheels facing into Paradise Bay.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, cool. So you know that. All right, but the other machine there, if you put 51 cents in, well, you got a picture of Big Al, and then the name Bear Country, and it was one of these things where it's like, what? And I've asked people at the company about, well, why was this on the second press penny machine ever to be put in a Disney park, and never gotten an answer that entirely made sense. One was that Bear Country was the last new land to be added to Disneyland. Mind you, Lauren, that was March of 1972, some 15 years earlier. On the other hand, the year previous, in February of 86, the second of the brand new Country Bear shows, the Vacation Hoedown, had debuted at Disneyland. The explanation that honestly makes the most sense is that, well, there was an assumption that this test was going to work, and that over in Bear Country at Disneyland, they already had an arcade. They had Teddy Barra's Swing and Arcade. And the notion was that once this test proved successful, we're just going to move this press penny machine over there, and people visiting that part of the park would want a Bear Country flattened penny. So it's a hugely successful test because these things, these press penny machines don't take up a whole lot of square footage in the Penny Arcade, but they make money hand over fist. And so it's like, absolutely, we're in this business now. And did you do any of these with the family when you were out in California earlier this month?
Not this month, but Miles had an era where every time we went to the theme parks, we would do the press pennies. And so we have books and books and books of pennies.
Well, no, that's it exactly. I mean, for example, right now at Disneyland Classic, they have 15 press penny machines inside of that park, an additional 15 machines inside of DCA, and then 5 more scattered around downtown Disney and the adjacent hotels. And it's also worth noting that typically at a pressed penny machine, you can get multiple, you have your choice of what sort of press penny you can get. Now, as we talked about at the top of the show, the U.S. Mint is no longer making pennies. So what's interesting is a lot of these machines have transitioned to now you put in $1, and with your $1, they put a blank slug into the mold, and you then get the equivalent of a press penny coming out. But in the past year, for example, you could have collected multiple press pennies celebrating Disneyland's 70th anniversary, and starting earlier this year, there was I want to say there were 17 different press pennies you could get over in California Adventure celebrating the 25th anniversary of that theme park. And again, having done this with Miles, it's a surprisingly affordable hobby, right? I mean, you're every time you're plunking $1 in the machine, but you're getting the the press coin back. And as you mentioned, now you sprang for the books to collect the press pennies in.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm happy that pins are still heavy, but like schlepping those things around the parks.
Yeah.
But they are. I mean, it is an affordable collectible. I feel like, is it $1.25? $1.26 maybe?
Well, again, remember, you're not providing the penny anymore. They're giving you the slug.
Okay. Yeah. $1.25?
Yeah, something to that effect. And by the way, if Miles is actually into this, I will go dig around in the basement because I'm pretty sure from my own trip out to Disneyland back in 1990 for the 35th anniversary of the park, I think I got some press pennies from that era. So just 3 years into press pennies being in Disney parks. And by the way,
did you know at the time that they were like a new hot thing?
It was just, it was a weird collectible. It was one of these things you wander into the penny arcade and it's like, well, that's an interesting way to celebrate the park. And more to the point, it's like, they're just asking for 51 cents. So yeah, sure, let's do that. But again, has since gone worldwide, and and Disney, Disney being Disney, are happy to sell you books to collect your press pennies in, or frames to display your press pennies in, and again, it all came on the back of the Michael Eisner era, where they were pouring all this money into the park and needed one more revenue stream, and again, it was pennies that turned out to be significant dollars at the park. But anyway, thanks again for Lauren for suggesting what initially I thought wasn't all that great a topic and was a fun way to explore the history of the parks.
I mean, I just always wondered, where did these come from? And now, you could get press pennies in Universal. You can get them at just about any theme park or big tourist attraction that you visit. Did Disney take the idea from someone else? Did, were they the ones that, start? Yeah, so, I was genuinely curious. So thank you for letting us know how we got here today. And I will keep my eyes peeled for any weird thing. Well, I always wondered, how did we get that?
Well, in the meantime, folks, and because Lauren really needs to head out the door shortly to get to the WWE thing, so we should probably close up shop today.
Yes. So if you want to keep up to date with everything that's happening across the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, make sure you're following us on social. And don't forget to check out our Patreon for bonus shows and early access.
Oh, and if you have a question or an idea for a future episode, please feel free to shoot us a message. I can be reached at jim@jimhillmedia.com, and Lauren can be reached at lauren@laurenhersey.com.
Yes, and if you like the show, make sure you leave us a quick rating or review. It really helps more Disney merch fans find I Want That Too.
Okay, and I guess that's going to do it for this week, folks. So on behalf of Ms. Hersey, thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time on I Want That Too.